got one?
Yep, I got one. Oh, whoa, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good fish.
You're listening to the Buckeye Kayak Fishing Trail Podcast.
What is going on, everyone? I'm here with the big winner from East West Harbor, BKFT, May 20th, 2023. Ethan, what's up, dude?
What's up, man? What's going on?
Not much, but you told me a little bit how, from Georgia. I see that hat there, and
That's right.
you came all the way up here to whoop the butts of all these Buckeyes. So I think it's appropriate that this is how we're going to start this podcast. Don't need any Buckeye music. All right.
Man, that's a good song. That's a good song.
So, yeah, man, I see you got the camo hat with the Georgia G there for anyone listening on audio only. That's one of the first things I noticed at the measure in. I was like, don't tell me it's that guy. That guy won? What is going on? So,
Yeah.
Were you born in Georgia?
Yeah, so I'm from Georgia originally, and got up here almost 3 years ago now. My wife was in the Air Force and got transferred to Wright Pat, and yeah, we just decided to stay. So
Yeah.
we'll be here for a while.
That Air Force base is huge. I'll tell you, whenever there's I don't know. I'm a dummy when it comes to that stuff, but like a B-52 or a B-1 or something, every once in a while there'll be a giant bomber landing at Wright Pat. And if you're driving out there between Columbus and Dayton, you can't I'm like, I hope I don't wreck my car, because you're looking and I'm like, they've got a lot of wheels on the bottom of those planes.
Yeah, they had it wasn't long ago, they landed like a big like F-16 jet, and it's like flying low. We used to live in the base housing over there, and it's super loud, and people's like out in their yards, like, what's going on? It was going to the museum. They were putting it in the museum. Maybe it was like an F-15 or something. I don't know. F something. Anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. And for anyone listening that has never been to the Air Force Museum out there in Dayton, it especially if you have kids, it's free to get in. And they have a SR-71. They have some other planes in there. They have some of the bombs that were dropped. I imagine they're replicas. I think the originals blew up. And no, it's really cool to see a lot of that. And I love that it was free to get in too. So that was cool.
Yeah,
man. Well, I'm glad that you're here in Ohio. Last thing I'll say about the Georgia-Ohio thing, does winning championships, does it make like annoying Buckeye fans a little easier to deal with?
nah, man, it doesn't.
Okay. We'd be honest.
There's a few that are just like, oh, you're like, man, they're all right. But there's some, it's just like, come on, man. You need to chill out. Y'all lost. Get over it.
Yeah.
Michigan beat you too.
That happened. It's true. All right. Okay. I'll be all right. Give me a minute. We'll be back right after this. Okay. We're back. I had to walk away for a minute, but I want to find out like everything about this day. I want to talk about all the things, like how your day started, pre-fishing. I can't believe when I heard that it was the first time you had been there, but
yeah,
that was true,
first
right?
trip. Yeah, first trip.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
that's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's crazy.
And it was last year we had an event on Mosquito Creek Lake. It's a grass lake, and we had so many anglers with 80, 85 inches, and we were all just like so happy. It was just an event that we were like, how are we going to have an event like this ever? And then East West Harbor happened. I think four anglers over 90 inches. Half the field, more than half the field, had over 80 inches. I had 80.25 inches, and I got 35th place. So
Yeah. I think that's how my mosquito event went last year. I had 80 something inches and was like, I didn't even get any AOY points. I was like 27th, 28th or something crazy like that.
yeah. And since you bring that up with the AOY, it's kind of fun because we did cut it back to only 6 events, but it's your best 5 events go towards you have to fish it. I don't know. You know what? This is a good time to say, don't listen to anything I say. Go on BuckeyeKayakFishingTrail.com and read the rules. But you do get your top points, but you don't have to worry about that anymore. If you get first place, you automatically get into the classic. You just have to fish enough events. So, if you got a wedding coming up, or you want to skip town in the fall to go see the Bulldogs lose or something like that, you can you can do whatever you got to do. So congratulations automatically in the classic on Kaiser. Have you ever fished Kaiser?
Yeah, man. I actually a couple weeks ago won a Thursday nighter there. So I'm going back to back on wins. So that's kind of
Wow.
nice.
I see a pattern developing here with
Uh,
so everyone better watch out. Maybe everyone already knew. Maybe I'm just late to the party. Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I doubt it. We got a tough crowd, man. We got some hammers for
Yeah, yeah,
sure.
for sure. And when we look at that leaderboard, McElharney was right there with you, Stallbaum.
Yep, I can hear you now.
All right. So the good news is I was just rambling and I was talking away. I do I do have the original recording, so I think it should be okay. But no, I was just saying that top 8 got a check, and then 9, 10, 11, we were looking at Skidmore, Hannigan, Shootman were 9, 10, 11. So
Yeah.
everyone above, so I mean, those are the guys that didn't even cash a check, and they had 88, 87 inches. It was really amazing. So you did great on a day where it came down to the end. It came down to who was going to get a fish late in the day when they fired back up, and you made it happen, man. So congratulations.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I mean, it was the very end for me. So
Yeah, and that check's not too bad either.
yeah, that's pretty good. You get a couple jackhammers or something with it.
Yeah, a couple jackhammers. Um,
Yeah.
so you camped at East Harbor. But
Yep.
but first time being there, did you get out and pre-fish?
Yeah, so I work nights, so I worked Wednesday night and got off Thursday morning, had most of my stuff packed. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get a couple hours nap, and drive up and just go to sleep Thursday night, get up Friday morning, try to hit east and west. Um, so Friday, like I launched at east and I fished at east probably until around lunch, and I just couldn't I found like one area maybe, that was holding some fish, but I didn't know if it would be big enough. I thought it was going to take 90 at least to be in the top. After that, I left there and I went to West, and I first I went to the boat ramp at West and it was closed.
Yeah.
So I had to hit a U-turn, and then I went to like that little landing or whatever, the small boat launch, and put in there lots and lots of grass, like topped out, like a big mat, like right in the middle of the marsh. So I was like, well, I'll start fishing the grass, and just wasn't really finding anything in there. And, just looking around, I happened to see like one little cut. I mean, it wasn't big at all. Like, and I was like, well, let me, see if anything's like moved up back here, getting ready to bed or on a bed, something like that. And threw a swim jig in there, and I got hit first cast. I was like, okay. And then I was like, let me see if there's anything else or if it's just like a fluke. Next cast, boom, like 17 and a half. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get out of here.
Yeah.
And that's when I just decided, I was like, all right, like I know, like just looking at Google Maps and stuff, like there's a few more areas like this, like in this spot. I was like, so I went back, camped that night. I still wasn't like 100% sure, where I was gonna start. And then like right before I went to bed, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go to West. So that's where I started. Well, I guess before that, after I got done practicing at West, I headed back, and this ramp was like cobblestone. Like it wasn't even like a cement ramp. It was just like a bunch of cobblestones. And I didn't bring my wheels.
Oh,
Um, so I'm dragging this AP 136 like super heavy up these cobblestones, get it in the parking lot, set it down, and I see my transducer from my graph like sitting underneath the hole where my trolling motor goes. And I'm like, well, that's not supposed to be there.
no.
So I flipped my boat over and my transducer mounting bracket had broken off. So I was like, probably not going to find a mountain bracket and be able to put it on tonight. So I just ended up taking it all off. So next day I went to West, no graph, no transducer, nothing.
What in the
Yeah.
world am I hearing right now? So,
Um,
so there you go. Because it doesn't come up a ton on the podcast, but it comes up online every now and then. And I've heard it on other podcasts. Like, what kind of boat do you need? And people want to jump on the guys that are just beginning and whatever. And you didn't even have a graph.
no. So all my waypoints that I had at East were gone. So that was another reason that kind of led me to going to West. I was like, well, they're shallow. You don't really need waypoints for shallow. So
Yeah. Nice job, man. So you were basically just dragging the kayak like through the gravel, just making a lot of
yeah,
noise. Yeah, that launch was not it started raining about 10:30 on Friday night, and it didn't stop until maybe 6:15,
yeah.
maybe 6 o'clock, 6:15. So it was like constant rain. So we were all out there, getting our kayaks all set up, 77 anglers in this event. And in my opinion, 77 of the best that there is. I mean, these guys, a lot of these anglers, I think if they had the means to fish a national trail, I think a lot of these anglers could really do well in some of these other areas. And here we are poking around on these Ohio lakes, but every once in a while, the cold front moves in. The wind was just right. Everything was just right, and this day was just like the perfect day. So, how many fish would you say you caught?
I probably caught like 25 fish,
Okay,
I would say.
yeah, because I think
Um,
it's interesting how some people caught. Like I caught eight, but I lost two, so it was like 10. But I heard where some people caught like 40 or 50, 30. And I'm like, what in the world? I mean, the conditions were just amazing. So was that about what you expected, or was that more or less?
well, like, dude, honestly, like when I found that first spot, like I was telling you, I was like, I think they're just stacked in here. I was like, I can get five, I was like, first thing in every tournament, I'm like, gotta get a limit. So I was like, I can get five. And then, I mean, it was pretty quick. And I was like, man, this is set up to be a really nice day.
Yeah.
Um, like, I think my first fish, I was like, I'm like, you gotta start top water in the morning. You can't not, you know, especially the shallow little area, first fish, like 12 and a half incher. I'm like, man, I don't think that's gonna do it, but I'm gonna put him on there, take his picture. He just wanted to show his face. Uh, But after that, I didn't get any more buzzbait fish. So, but yeah, like I didn't know it was going to set up to be as good as it was. I'd heard all the stories of how great, the fishery was and how well everybody had done. And it just happened to turn out to be a really, really good day for me.
Yeah.
I couldn't have asked for a better day, honestly. So
Yeah. So, I want to kind of get into how your day started, from that first fish you caught, but let's pause a little bit and talk about your buzz bait. And then we have a surprise for everyone. Not really a surprise, because I've done it before. We're gonna call Matt Davis for a trivia question. But what's your buzz bait setup?
so I really like the Cavatron buzz baits. And then I was just fishing it on a like a 7 foot medium heavy uh, with 30-pound braid, Daiwa Tatula.
Okay.
It was kind of, it wasn't really I wasn't expecting there to be a lot of top water, so it was more of my kind of all around rod, and I just happened to tie on a buzz bait the night before.
Yeah. All right,
But
man.
yeah, it works.
Yeah. Heck yeah. And you've got to, like you said, you got to start in the morning with the top water. If you're not throwing buzz bait, like what's your other go-to? I know, like there's ploppers and some people start with like whatever. Like, do you have another one or is it always you always go with the
I
buzz bait?
like I like a whopper plopper. I feel like a buzz bait's my favorite. Like I feel my hookups are the best on a buzz bait. Um, but like if I could catch them on any top water, it's probably a frog. Like the blow ups are insane. They're in thick cover, heavy tackle. Like I just enjoy getting a frog fish too.
Yeah.
But I don't always have the best hookups with a frog. I kind of get I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Impatient, I guess. I got to see that blow up and I just want to send them to the moon and jack them. Most
Oh
of the
yeah.
time it's my frog hitting me in the chest. So
Or well, I don't know that first one you caught. You said it was a 12 and a half or whatever. The fish might hit you in the chest.
yeah, he went over the kayak.
Yeah.
I sent him for a ride too.
That's fun. Well, listen, we're gonna get into after your 12 and a half because I'm sure the day got a lot more interesting. But let's call Matt Davis because he has trivia. And you know what? I'm always down for embarrassing myself with trying to answer these questions he has.
Hello.
Matt Davis,
Yes.
what's up, man? I'm here with Ethan. We've been talking. We haven't really got into the meat of everything yet, but well, we're getting there. We wanted to stop and call you for some trivia.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ethan, nice job out there, man. That was a tough day of fishing. Like the conditions were tough, the wind. I never was able to get warm when I was out on the water. So I had a difficult time with the conditions. You really, really knocked it out, man.
Man, I appreciate it, dude. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, and then we even started the podcast. I played the Glory. What is that? Glory. I don't know what it is. That Georgia.
Glory, glory to old Georgia.
Yeah, we started with that. That was hard for me too, Matt.
Well, is that like the Georgia State song?
Yeah. Well, I googled Georgia fight song, so I don't know. Maybe Ethan hates that song. I don't know.
Well, what about I'm a rambling wreck from Georgia Tech and a hell of an engineer, a hell of 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 an engineer?
I don't know that one.
That's the Georgia Tech fight song.
Okay. All right.
It's just an odd piece of knowledge that I happen to have.
I'm a rambling wreck from Georgia Tech and a hell of an engineer. A hell of 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 an engineer. Like all the jolly good fellows that drink my whiskey clear, I'm a rambling.
They're better engineers than football players, huh?
Oh, 100%.
Yes, I would say you are 1,000% right.
All right.
They can probably give you the arc of a football if you kick it, but they're probably not going to beat Georgia in football.
No, they have every once in a while they have a decent team, or they put up just maybe a good game that's on national TV or something. But
Exactly.
yeah. All right, Matt, let's do it. You always bring it, so hope we don't embarrass ourselves. But I'm ready for it anyway. I don't care. What do you got?
Okay. So I'm going to give you guys a choice. Do you want like a really like science-based trivia question when it comes to fishing, or do you want just kind of like a that's neat to know type question?
I think, I mean, neat to know seems like I might have a better shot at guessing, but I'll put my hands up because I don't want anyone thinking I'm.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah,
Need to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the neat information to know: who is the only professional bass angler to be featured on a Wheaties box?
Wheaties box. Oh boy. All right. Who goes first? I'm gonna go with Houston. I'm thinking it's an old. I think it's an old. It has to be an old one. So, and I'm not big on the old. I don't know all the Ike and Ellie and all that. That's kind of when I started to get into paying attention. But what Jimmy Houston? That's his name, right?
I don't know. I'm
Okay.
thinking it's got to be like one of the Martins. I'm with you though. I think it's like one of the older ones. I'll say like Roland Martin. It's probably like Bill Dance or something.
Oh, Bill.
Roland Martin.
That was a good.
Okay. So you're saying Jimmy Houston, Billy, and Ethan, you're saying Roland Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Believe it or not, it is 4-time Bassmaster Classic champion Kevin Van Dam.
Oh,
Wow.
what in the world? What in
Well, if you think about it, it's always kind of like that charismatic overachiever that is on the Wheaties box. So you've had what I wouldn't call Simone Biles an overachiever, but like Simone Biles has been on it. Carl Lewis.
Yeah. The swimmer was on there.
It's like crazy accomplished person.
All right.
Yeah. So, you look at Kevin Van Dam, he was such a good advocate for the sport. He was such a good advocate for bass conservation, and he was very well spoken. It's like he would be a good fit for that.
Right. They couldn't put G-Man on there because he would tell them what they. All right.
You know what? Of all the anglers I can think of that deserve to be on a Wheaties box, in my opinion, Gerald Swindle deserves to be there.
Yeah.
Because he's just a hoot.
Yeah, I love that guy.
He cracks me up, man.
Yep.
Here was the science-based question. I want to give you 4 choices. What is the largemouth bass's scientific name? Okay. You got A, Macropterus centrarchus. B, Micropterus salmoides. C, Micropterus punctulatus. Or D, Bucketus malthidus.
Okay. So it like taking any good test. You have the funny one you got to throw out. That's D. It's hysterical.
Yep.
Say D again.
D.
I want to hear you say D again.
Micropterus salmoides.
No, that's not what you said.
For B?
No, D, the last one.
Oh, Bucketus malthidus.
Yeah, that's funny. I'm gonna go with C. Final answer.
I'll say B.
Okay, so
B. Okay,
B,
Ethan. Yeah.
B was Micropterus punctulatus. B was Micropterus salmoides, and A was Macropterus centrarchus.
Yeah, C. I'm 100% on C. That's my guess.
Okay, and Ethan, you're going with what? B?
B. It's going to be A.
Probably.
Well, if you're going with B, that's the reason why you won the tournament.
Oh!
Let's go. I knew Micropterus.
We got to do it. We won it again. All right. All right, good job. That was fun. All right, Matt. Well, I don't know why you asked us our what we wanted to pick, because then we did them both. We should just start with stuff.
But the thing is, like, I wanted to give you a choice because I wanted to give you the one that you wanted to answer.
Oh, okay.
But I wanted to ask you the one that I wanted you to answer too.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I love it. Well, we're gonna get back to the podcast here with the interview, but I want to tell you that Ethan really trying to give you a run for your money with the golden banana, Matt.
Oh, really? How's
Oh,
that?
well,
I guess I'll find out when I listen to the podcast.
oh, good point. All right, so go listen to the podcast and you'll find out why. And then, well, we should probably tell the Matt story so the listeners understand what the competition.
Yep.
What, Matt? Tell us real quick what you did.
All right, so I go down, I launch my boat because I can wet launch my kayak, and I run it out, and I realize when I get back, I went to turn on my 360 light, it wouldn't come on. So I thought, okay, emergency solution. I've got like a pin flashlight that has a big light on it. So I was going to like just take bungees and strap it to my 360 light so I'd have a 360 light. So I bring my boat back, and I literally just like, it parks itself right next to the dock, and it wasn't going anywhere. I run to my car. I was gone less than a minute. And I come back, and my boat is gone. So I'm yelling at everybody out there waiting to launch. I'm like, hey, anybody see a disembodied boat out there?
Yeah. And it's dark. Like, it's not kind of dark. It's pitch black. And
Yeah,
and with
like,
the 360
because through the smoke of all the nav lights,
yeah.
I couldn't see my nav light to know where my boat was. Because if I knew where my boat was, I could bring it with the remote. But so finally, Aaron Stahlbaum says, "Hey, I see Matt's boat. He's got the white motor." And Kyle was nice enough to grab my boat, and as soon as I got it to where I knew what direction it was facing, I said, "Let go, man. Go to your spot." And I brought my boat in. I strapped my light to it, and off I went. But
Yeah. That
Man, that's like your kids, man. It's like I turned my back for 1 minute and they are tearing something up. They're gone.
yeah.
yeah, and like there wasn't hardly any wind at the ramp. So I have no idea how it made it so far out into the lake.
Yeah.
Unless when somebody launched, like maybe when Kyle launched his boat, it bumped mine and he didn't know it. And it might have just knocked it out into the breeze and then it took off. I don't know. But,
Yeah. And then
so lesson learned, just
right.
tie it off the dock or take it out and hit anchor lock until you come back. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
that's my lesson.
in the dark anyway, right? And then the other thing was that when anglers launch and then it's not, I think it was like 5:30 was launch time, right? So everyone's sitting around the dock, and then there's a boat with the nav lights like further and further and further out. So the anglers they're like Matt's empty boat like kept moving the goal.
They're like,
and people were like, "Oh, we can go this far out. Oh, we can go even further." So
this guy's trying to get the jump on us.
Yeah.
my boat was trying to get a jump on everybody, but it didn't want to take me with it.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. I love the trivia, and we gotta do it again. Have a good night, man.
All right, we'll see you, man.
All right, bye, Matt. All right, that was fun. I always like calling Matt for trivia. I don't know when I realized that he does like a trivia night, like we do like the fishing, and there's people do like cornhole or bowling leagues or darts or whatever. I don't know what they do in Georgia. That's what we do in Ohio. We do things like that. And and Matt has trivia night. So, and he kills it. So I love it. All right, man. So everyone listening to this is probably dialed in to get the juice. And like I said, it came right down to the end. It's so crazy how this conversation I'm having right now could have been with McElharney, could have been with Stahlbaum, so close, but you did it. So take me back to 6:30 or whenever after the small fish.
Yeah. So after that small fish, like that was at the mouth of that little area I was telling you about. So I started kind of throwing around a jackhammer, throwing around a swim jig. All of my big bites came on a swim jig. I got my first limit in that area, and then they kind of turned off a little bit to the moving bait. So I just started flipping a worm around the shallow spot with like some lily pads that were starting to come up. I got a couple of extra bites there. But after a while, they just kind of turned off. And so I knew there was another area on the opposite side that was shallow. Uh, I didn't know if it still had like the lily pads and stuff because I had literally just Google Maps it, Navionics, you know. I just knew it was shallow. So I was like, and I knew it was a little pocket. So I was like, I'm gonna go over there. There was a guy fishing like way off of the bank. So I'm like, he's like fishing in the middle too. So I had like come by and I'm like riding the bank, like scraping my trolling motor shallow. And I'm just like throwing the swim jig, get a bite. And then I had ended up passing him. And when I got that bite, I noticed there was like some laydowns and those lily pads were like in those laydowns. Picked up a couple more upgrades on the swim jig and then started throwing that worm back in there, dude. I caught an 18.75, an 18 and a half, and then I want to say like a 17.75 or a 17 and a half. I can't remember really.
Wow. What time is this?
Um,
Like, what time of day was all that?
so the last one was like the 17 and a half or 17.75, which put me in the lead at 89 and a half inches. That was at 10:40. Well, it wasn't long after that. Here comes Stall Bomb and McElharney, and I'm like, man, well, I'm sitting in third. So I'm sitting there thinking, like, dude, I just want one of these trophies. Like, these things are sweet, you know. Like,
Yeah.
third, I get a trophy, you know. I'm like, but, you know, keep grinding. It's 10:40. We still got like 4.5 hours of fishing. I was like, anything can happen. And then, so I keep fishing. I had to upgrade. I had to call a 17.25. And I could not catch a 17 and a half and 18 nothing like for the rest of the day. And then I ended up dropping to fourth. I
Oh,
think Alex Roberts passed me up at 90 and a quarter. And I was like, dude, I need an 18 would put me at 90 and a quarter. And we both had 18.75s was our big fish at the time. And I knew I had mine before him because I had the lead at like 10:40. I was like, if I get an 18, I'm third place. I get a trophy. Like those trophies are tight, man. I want one. I've been wanting one for a long time.
yep.
So that spot kind of died off. And so I went and checked my first spot again. This was at like probably 2 o'clock. Fished it for a little while. Nothing. Not a tick, not a bite, nothing. So I was like, well, I remember from pre-fishing, right as you come out the ramp, there's a shallow area that's got some pads coming up, and there's a bunch of laydowns over there. So I kick the trolling motor on high, shoot over there. I get there at like 2:45. I'm like, I got a couple casts left to make. I pitched in a V of a downed willow tree 3 times in the same spot on the third cast. I get hammered with an absolute tank, a 19 and 3/4. Get her in the net, and she's like skin hooked, dude. I'm like, oh my God. So I took my picture. I looked at the timestamp. I took my picture at 2:53 was when I got her picture.
Wow.
And I'm like, there's a lady sitting on the bank, like mowing her hedges, like by the lake with like a chainsaw because they were so thick. And I'm like screaming and yelling, and like this lady didn't even look at me. Like, so it must happen all the time up there. People catch big fish. Um, but yeah, so I'm like, I caught that one, and I'm like, not far from the ramp, got my picture. I could not get it to submit. Tourney X had an issue. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, so I'm like going towards the ramp and I see Jason Lyle after line's out. I was like, dude, I think I just won it. He was like, what? He's like, no, I'm pretty sure Kyle McElharney had like 92 and three quarter. I was like, you sure, dude? I was like, I thought he was like 91 and three quarter. I was like, I'm at 92 unless he upgraded. I was like, I'm pretty sure I just won it. And, but we still had like you said, like 30 minutes for people to submit fish, but I knew that fish put me in the lead. But I was freaking out because I could not get it to upload to Tourney X. And I was like, I seen Greg Shootman at the ramp. I was like, dude, call Billy, like call him. Like you gotta let him know, like I got this fish, bro. Like, and then finally my fish submitted at like well, everybody at the ramp was like, yeah, ours didn't submit neither. I was like, okay, so it's not just me, it's not a service issue. And they were like, well, we're gonna stop trying since you won it. Like we didn't, we're not in the money or anything. Like we're gonna like maybe we're just
They're trying
taking
to
up
help
the
you out.
server or something.
Yeah.
Finally, I got it to submit at like 3:23, and like your boy Austin is just on. He was on it, boy. He was like, as soon as I submitted, it was like catch accepted. I'm like, let's go. And then, yeah, man, I was just like riding a high for like 2 days after that. Like I couldn't believe it. And then, honestly, like my wife had texted me at like 2 o'clock. She was like, it's the last hour. She was like, just keep going, like just keep grinding it out. Because I was to the point where I was like, man, it's just like I don't know, it's gonna be tough to find an 18, like,
Yeah.
and then I just hammer that giant,
Like
flipping a worm
how do you
into a
catch
tree.
your biggest fish of the tournament? And then because I caught one similar to it, but you won the tournament, in the last 10 minutes by catching the second biggest fish of the entire tournament. So
Yeah,
McElharney
dude,
he had a 20 and a quarter, but
yeah,
19 and three quarter out of 539 fish caught. The fish that won it for you was the second biggest fish of the whole tournament.
isn't
So
that crazy?
that
That's wild, bro.
it is so crazy. And I wish, do you run a GoPro or do you record?
I don't. I have one that I'll normally set up, like if I'll take pictures or something.
Yeah.
But I was so focused on like getting this fish submitted and put in, like I didn't even take a picture of me. I did take an extra picture of the fish because she was blind in her eye, that like her camera eye, her left eye, I guess. And
Yeah.
so I was like, there was a big fish kill, and I was like, man, I don't want people to think she's dead. So I took a picture of her other eye just to prove. And then, like, I had the motion photo where she's laying on the board and you can see her move. I'm
Moving.
like, all
Yeah.
right, we're good.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
good.
There were a few of them. I think Devin, I think was one of them. Kyle had one, and then you had one. So there were a few fish where they had that. I don't know what it is, but do you catch fish like that very often where they have that, that
Kind
glassy?
of whited out
Yeah, white.
looking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
great.
caught a lot of the fish I caught had like they were kind of sored and had junk all over them. But I
Yeah,
mean, I was like, this is a big fish, like, and I don't want people to think anything's wrong or anything. So let me like get another picture just to make
yeah,
sure. And then,
yeah. That was a good call. That was a good idea. I know KBF or not KB Bassmaster when I fished one of those, they were, talking about just get video. If you have any doubt, get
yeah,
video of you releasing the fish. So, they can see that it was able to swim away. So
yeah, that's a lesson learned too. Like I was just like so caught up in the moment and looking back, I had talked to like Brad Lehman and he was like, you should have just videoed releasing it. I was like, right, that's what I should have done. But I was not like thinking about releasing it at the time. Because like in my mind, like I knew I caught it. I knew she was alive. I knew she swam away. But hindsight's 2020, I guess. But
yeah, yeah, for sure. Those I was on East Harbor, so West Harbor had the same thing with the carp, like the kill with all the carp.
Yeah, it was a bunch of the like sheep's head and stuff. We're just like
Yeah,
floating around.
yeah,
That grass mat was like it was almost just like all sheep's head. There was
yeah,
hardly any.
yeah. You were punching sheephead. You flipped
Yeah.
sheephead. Yeah, it was so, and they stunk too because they've been there for a
Yeah, they were
week.
bad, dude.
Some of them. Yeah.
It was
Um.
bad.
Yeah. The good news is there's a lot of them in there, so I think the population of sheephead will be just fine in the harbors. Um. So I want to ask you something. Did you catch any off species?
I caught a catfish on a swim jig.
Okay.
And I didn't catch any pike like some other people were catching. That was the only off species I caught.
Okay.
It would have
Yeah.
been cool to catch like a big northern or something in practice. That would have been nice. But
Yeah.
yeah, just a
Not during the
catfish.
tournament, but in practice would be cool. Yeah.
Just a catfish right by the grass mat.
All right. Um, that's pretty cool. Do you when you like thinking about your setup, right? Because I was thinking if you catch a pike or a walleye and it cuts your line, do you do the braid to fluoro or like what's your setup with your line?
So I was throwing my swim jig on straight fluorocarbon, 7.4 heavy fast, St. Croix Mojo, Daiwa Tatula. Um, it depends like where I'm fishing, I guess. Like if I'm fishing some thicker stuff, I'll switch my swim jig to like a no jack hook. Those tactical bassing guys get me all the time, you know.
Yeah.
And then I'll fish that on braid, but most of the time I like to just fish on fluorocarbon. Um, the only thing I fish braid to fluorocarbon is like my spinning rods. I think that's about it. Anything else is either straight braid or straight fluorocarbon.
Yeah, those spinning rods are hard to. There's so many tips, and they got the line conditioner, and people talk about like heat up the line and all that. It's so hard
Yeah,
to keep that line straight. Braid to fluoro is probably the way to go with the spinning rods.
yeah. Braid to fluoro, FG knot.
There you
I
go.
mean, I'll keep my braid on. It'll last a whole season on a spinning rod, maybe more, you know. I'm
Yeah,
not one to like, I gotta change it out every tournament. Like I'm like, if it gets low, I'll change it out, you know.
yeah. I don't have enough money to. I can't
Yeah.
switch out. Like, what are you
I
talking about?
got kids, man.
Yeah. How many kids you got?
So I got one and then one on the way and then a wife. So a dog. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I was
So,
like, I gotta can't be hitting tackle warehouse up, you know, once a week anymore. So
no, no. Then you end up. It creates issues with the marriage. Then you end up lying about packages that are showing up. It's like, no,
yeah, I just
that's
most of my issues are like storage issues, you know. I don't have enough places to put it all.
yeah. Well, you said that you were in the Air Force, right? Air Force.
I was Navy. My
Oh,
wife was
wife
Air
was Air
Force.
Force. All right.
Yeah,
So thank
we
you.
met in
Thanks
Florida.
to both of you for your service. Um,
Thanks, man. We
yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah. I mean, that's huge. I talked about it on another podcast, and we could spend a whole day talking about that. But thank you. And then you guys are you out in the Dayton area? Is that where you're living?
Yeah, so we just bought a house in Huber, and like I said, she got out of the Air Force in like January. My wife's actually from Minnesota, so we're kind of right in the middle. Um, and then we just
Betcha.
decided to stay here.
Wait, is that
Yeah, I
Minnesota?
don't.
Betcha. I don't know.
I get made fun of every time I go up there, man. And I'm like, nah, y'all can't even say the word bag, okay? Like, y'all are the ones that are tripping. They're like, it's a bag. I'm like, no, it's not. You know?
I can't even say it. Make it
Yeah, yeah, bag. My wife would be like, can we get some bagels? I'm like, can we get some what? A
nice.
bagel? Yeah, we can get a bagel.
Yeah, you're right though. You guys are kind of in the middle, maybe. Uh,
Yeah, I think it's like to my house back home is like 10 hours, and to her house it's like 10 hours and 15 minutes. We're pretty pretty dead center for our trips back home. So
Yeah. Well, the more you travel and more like all of us, like we get older, we move around, we meet people. If it's job, if it's, military, whatever reason, you end up, you know, home is wherever you end up, right? And then you end up finding out that people are, as long as you have good friends and people that are interested in what you're interested in, and even like just hang out around a campfire with BKFT, like,
yeah, man.
so man, it's amazing. Just meet all these people. And then, Brad Lehman, like cooking food. So as long as
Oh my
Brad's there, we're
God.
good. Did you have some of that
Man.
walleye?
Yes,
What? I got to
man.
message him and find out. I can't do that. If you gave me all the oil, all the ingredients, the kitchen appliances, like I'm like, I don't think I could do what he did at a camp. Did you
Man,
see him cook it?
yeah, dude, he threw it down.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
mean,
That was so good.
shout out to Stallbaum for providing the walleye, but I hear maybe at Mosquito we might have some more. So
Oh, all right.
we'll see.
That'll be good. I'll be camping at Mosquito and Nimasilla as well. I have Austin's actually going to fish with me at Nimasilla. We started tradition. I guess this will be our 4th year. I don't know how it's been 4 years already, but yeah. So 3 years ago, he fished his first ever tournament at Nimasilla, and this will be the 4th year. So that'll be cool. And then yeah, are you fish? Do you have plans to fish all the tournaments on the schedule?
Yeah, I'm booked for camping every site. I've already requested unavailability for work through September. I guess I gotta get some unavailability for October now too. So
Yeah.
um yeah, yeah, like I work nights, so like this last week I was like I knew I wanted to go up Thursday. So I ended up working like Wednesday to Wednesday. I worked 6 days. I was off Sunday. I worked 6 12s, and man, I was like worn out. So it was nice that working all those back-to-back shifts and everything ended up paying off for me. I was pretty excited about it. I wasn't too tired after the tournament. So
Yeah. Man, 6 12-hour shifts, and then you went fishing in those
yeah.
conditions with because Matt, it's funny, we were talking about how perfect the conditions were, but we were talking about the fish. But for the
Yeah.
anglers, if you're not ready for it, it would be like saying it was so good, and then you find out it was raining and it was windy and it was,
Yeah. It
yeah,
was
you gotta
chilly,
be,
dude. I was chilly, so I was wearing Crocs and I ended up putting some socks on before I left camp, just to kind of keep my feet a little bit warm. Well, when I launched Saturday morning, I had one foot that stepped in the water, so that sock was soaked. Well, the rest of the day, I just rode it with one sock on. So maybe the rest of my tournaments, I'm just going to wear one sock. I don't know.
one sock. I love it, man.
Yeah.
Well, listen, what before we wrap it up, I don't know if you have any sponsors or whatever, and then definitely want to give you the opportunity to thank anyone you want to thank. But do you have any sponsors or anyone helping you out with
Yeah,
your
man.
venture?
My wife sponsors me by saying yes, you can go fish. So I just, big shout out to her for allowing me to go and do what I love to do and saying, yeah, it's okay. And I even was telling her, the classic this year falls on our anniversary. And she was like, well, I guess since you qualified, we can celebrate the day before or the day after. She was like, but you better do good. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, you
I
won.
don't
You
want to
won there.
disappoint.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it'll be tough, man. It'll be different. It'll be in the fall. So we'll see. I'll try to figure something out, hopefully.
It was McIlharney's wedding anniversary on
Yeah,
Saturday.
I seen that, man.
Yeah.
Like some of the wives we got on the trail, they're
Yeah.
they're the real the real heroes out here letting us just goof off and be little kids and fish,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. It's so much fun. Good without the, and you mentioned it earlier when you said like, well, I don't know how much you mentioned it, but in your Facebook post, you kind of said like, an hour before or whatever. And she was like, keep after
Yeah.
it or whatever. And that is so true. If it's a friend, a wife, girlfriend, like whoever that says, keep after it. And they'll say something that, it's like, go find keep finding the big one or whatever. And you're like, yeah, it's so cool to have that little support and you might need it.
Yep.
9 hours, man. That was a 9 hour tournament.
It,
Yeah.
like I said, dude, at the end, I was just kind of like, oh man, like, like, shoot, so close, And then I was like, you know what? Like, let me just try this one spot. And sure enough, that was the spot, man.
Yeah. So I guess let's end it with me asking you some questions very specific to your swim jig. So when you're throwing a swim jig, do you think the color of your swim jig, is it the right time to throw a swim jig? Is it the casting placement or accuracy of the swim jig or the retrieve method? Like if you had to rank those four things.
I think I mean, honestly, like, I believe the fish that were in there would have bitten anything just because of how they were set up. But the area was like had all of those pad stems and some dead pad stems that having that weed guard on there really helped me out. Like a jackhammer for me was just getting hung way too much. Um, so I think just being able to have that like 4x4 of a moving bait
Yeah.
was really what set it apart for me because I wasn't having to go back into the area, blow up my spot, and get a $18 jackhammer out, which I definitely would have went and gotten if I got hung up. But I don't know if I don't think it was color. I think it was just like being in the right place at the right time, being in the right area. I don't do the Alabama shake. I don't do anything with Alabama in it. So, I
Okay.
mean, I think your trailer should give you all the action you need. And most of the time, I just fish a uh, Kitech trailer. I was just throwing green pumpkin with a like a 4.38 AU IU something
Okay.
Kitech trailer. Just a natural bait fish green pumpkin profile.
Yeah. And it wasn't like sunny, blue skies, calm water. It wasn't, a lot of the conditions where someone says throw natural. I mean, this was like we said, windy, overcast,
Yeah.
windy, rainy, and you're throwing natural colors. If you had to explain to someone, I said that was my last question, and now I'm asking another one. If you had to explain to someone like what it feels like when you get that bite on a swim jig, like someone that
Oh
that's
man.
never fished, like what's it feel like?
Like if somebody was holding a metal baseball bat and you were holding your jig on the end of the rod and they just smacked it. I mean, they absolutely hammer a swim jig, dude. And I send them to Jesus with the hook set, man. I mean, I whack them with it and just hammer them as hard as I can. That's my favorite part of bass fishing is setting the hook as hard as I can, dude. I'll send all of them to the moon.
Yeah. Well, since you said send them to Jesus, one last time, we're gonna say, yeah, congratulations, man. It was great. Ethan Graham, everyone, if you haven't got a chance to go look at the standings, you got to go check out on TourneyX or go on BuckeyeKayakFishingTrail.com and check out the next tournament we have coming up is going to be the first weekend in June.
June, yeah.
Quick. We have a
Sure.
1 week break and then then it's coming up. So get signed up for that this weekend. I think I'm going to get this episode sent out pretty quick. I want to. I might just not even edit it. I might just send it out the way it is.
Just send it.
Just send it. And then, but there's the Memorial Day is the Buckeye Blitz or whatever we call it for the Memorial Day. So the online, don't forget about the online. That's pretty cool. And man, it was great to talk to you. It was great to see you around the camp and everything. And great to see you get that catch trophy. You are not kidding. That is a sought after trophy. Those are just so cool. It's the catch
They're
X
sweet.
trophy, and they cut down that aluminum or whatever it is. Yeah, it's aluminum. And yeah, you did it, man. Well, congratulations, and I hope you do really well the rest of the year. And I can't wait to see how it goes. Anything you want to
Yeah,
add
man.
before we hang up?
No, man, I appreciate it. Like, man, just congrats to Kyle and Aaron and everybody that, I mean, just put up absolute numbers in the tournament. And I just happened to find the right one at the right time. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it was a crazy, crazy numbers tournament. It was wild. And I had a blast. So,
Yeah, dude, it was crazy. I mean, you and Kyle and Aaron and Alex could have been any of you. Could have,
yeah,
and it came.
for
Oh, and then we
sure.
didn't even mention it.
Yeah,
Aaron,
Aaron caught the one at 3 with 46 seconds or something. And I'm like, dude, I was like, I'm so glad your fish wanted a late dinner. Like,
yeah,
I'm so happy.
yep,
Like, man, I lucked out with that one because he would have won it with that fish. That fish would have won it. And I'm
yep,
like, man, that was that was something was happening in the fishing world to be like 46 seconds too late. And I'm
yeah,
like, oof. I mean,
and
I scraped by the skin of my teeth. So,
yeah, you did. But I mean, you caught one 10 minutes. 10 minutes is no joke. Like your heart's pounding. You're thinking,
dude,
how much time do I have to get this picture? 10 minutes is no joke. Yeah,
it was, I couldn't believe it.
yeah,
Couldn't believe it happened. And won by a quarter of an inch. It was just long enough
yeah,
to
yeah.
win.
So crazy. Because Kyle was behind you and he had big fish. So
Yeah,
if you had tied Kyle, or if you
he
had
would have won.
if you had taken a bad photo or settled for a quarter inch because you were in a hurry, he would have won. Yeah, if you guys tied, he would have won.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, good job. That's awesome.
Thanks,
Well,
man.
thanks, dude. Can't wait to see you around the campfire some more. And everyone, hope to see you out at Indian Lake. Have a good week, everyone, and go Bucks.
All right now.